What's going on, family? I'm Angel. This is the Vasquez Report. And for part 5, I wanted to talk about a story that really isn't getting covered at all. Apparently, Meta, Instagram, and Facebook are all in hot water over social media youth harms. For more on the story, let's see what Ground News had to say. My bad, I misspoke earlier. Meta and Facebook are the same entity. Meta, Instagram, and Snap leaders ordered to testify in landmark trial that could make social media companies liable for youth mental health harms. On Monday, Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Carol B. Cool ordered Meta Platforms CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Instagram chief Adam Mosseri, and Snap CEO Evan Spiegel to testify in a January trial after companies tried to block their testimony. Judge Karen B. Cool wrote that direct CEO testimony matters because knowledge of harms and failure to act could prove negligence. While plaintiff alleged social media companies built addictive features harming younger users, Meta Platform argued that forcing Zuckerberg and Mosseri to appear would burden business and set a precedent, while Kirkland and Ellis said Snap Inc. will explain why allegations are factually wrong. Lead plaintiffs' lawyers welcomed the Meta Platforms and Snap Inc. accountable amid growing legal pressure. The case is part of a broader wave of litigation that also names TikTok and YouTube. While platforms cite 1990s federal law and Instagram launched teen accounts last year and updated controls earlier this month. The key issue here is whether a Meta, Instagram, or Snap can be held legally responsible for addiction-related mental health harms among young users. To prove how much the story isn't being talked about, according to their data, only 3 sources across the political spectrum are even covering this, ordered to testify for all 3 CEOs. That's interesting. If they don't have anything to hide, then it shouldn't matter, should it? Which brings me to our next story, where an Atlanta family did the right thing and called the authorities when one of their family members was about to shoot up an airport. For more on the story, let's see what Fox News had to say.
That a convicted felon was allegedly planning to shoot up the Atlanta airport today, the world's busiest airport, armed with an AR-15. And that suspect reportedly did get inside the airport before police quickly stopped him.
I'm honestly glad they did the right thing and reported him instead of just letting him shoot up and kill innocent people. So, in my opinion, they did the right thing, and I'm glad everybody's safe. Let's continue.
Here's a live look at Hartsfield-Jackson right now, and here's what we know. Our affiliate source says that this felon did a FaceTime call with family members, allegedly telling them his plans to shoot up the Atlanta airport.
My hope is that if anybody else that watches my content was in this position, they would tell the authorities as well, because other people's lives are at stake. I'm hoping that's the case. Let's keep going.
Reportedly notified police after that call, who then found the suspect's car outside of the airport. It was blocking traffic, but the suspect was not inside. Police reportedly did end up finding the felon inside of the airport. They grabbed him, took him into custody, and authorities reportedly found that AR-15 while searching his car.
I'm also glad that he didn't bring the weapon in with him, and they found it in his car, because he got into the airport, and he blocked traffic, so it could have been way worse. Let's finish up this story.
A lot of questions as to how this supposed convicted felon got his hands on that high-powered semi-automatic rifle. And this, of course, all happening during a government shutdown where airports nationwide are struggling to stay staffed.
That just shows that it's mainly mental health and not gun laws, because the gun laws aren't necessarily lax in Atlanta. So this person wasn't mentally well, and they were a convicted felon, so it should have been harder for them to get a weapon, not easier. But somehow they managed to get it. Let's move on to the next story.
The local law enforcement, at least in this clash. And then some of the protesters are throwing back the flashbangs right back at the federal agents. But look at the scenes here. We can get a bit closer here. They have a strobe light, so it's kind of hard to see the roof of the agents on. There it is, the strobe light on the gun.
That just gave you a glimpse into what the Portland Police Department and ICE in general were dealing with and why they needed the National Guard in the first place. Look at that. It paints a picture, doesn't it?
Oh, wow.
And obviously we saw you, Jorge, rightfully put on your mask because...
Of course, that led to this, where an appeals court allowed Trump to bring the National Guard into Portland, Oregon. For more on the story, let's hear what MSDNC had to say.
It is a big deal, and I want to just correct one thing and then explain why functionally it is the same. This is a stay of Judge Immergut's opinion, and that's why it reached the Ninth Circuit as soon as it did, because this is an emergency motion to essentially pause her order. But as a functional matter, you are absolutely correct. It has the function of overturning her order and thereby allowing the president to send the National Guard back onto the streets of Portland.
Now let's let the MSDNC legal correspondent explain exactly why the president has that authority and what code it's under. Let's get the details.
I want to read, if I can, just from a little bit of the beginning of this 93-page opinion. It says, after considering the record, and by the record they mean all the factual evidence at this preliminary stage, we conclude that it is likely that the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority under 10 U.S.C. Section 12406. That's the statute we've been referring to as Title 10 when we have conversations about the National Guard deployments.
So he's not a king, and he acted lawfully, and he has the right to do what he did. That's interesting that a left-wing media outlet would admit that, actually. Let's keep going.
Which authorizes the federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. And this is the important part. The evidence the president relied on reflects, quote, a colorable assessment of the facts and law within a range of honest judgment. We thus conclude that defendants are likely to succeed on the merits of their appeal.
I'm glad that the appeals court issued a stay that effectively allowed President Trump to use the National Guard and federalize them to get control of Portland, Oregon. That's it for part 5. Part 6 coming at you next.